Hello, everyone. Welcome to AHA Early Career Blog. It is my pleasure to introduce you to someone who has inspired me early in my career and who has some advice for other early career cardiologists. I have Dr. Deborah Lockwood with me here. Dr. Lockwood attended Oxford University Medical School. She completed training in general medicine and cardiology in the UK, then completed an electrophysiology fellowship at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. And I met her when she was serving as Associate Professor of Medicine at the Oklahoma University Heart Rhythm Institute, where she served as an electrophysiologist doing catheter ablations primarily of atrial fibrillation. She's a fellow of Heart Rhythm Society, the American Heart Association, and the American College of Cardiology, and she has lectured widely at campuses around the US. She recently took early retirement to live on the south coast of Spain and pursue other dreams. Welcome, Dr. Lockwood.
Thank you, Zain, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I am truly delighted and honored to have been given this opportunity to speak. I know that we live in an amazing time with constantly increasing options and access and things that we feel we should know and things that we have to do. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed and to forget that just a little time invested in making ourselves more organized and more goal-oriented can actually save us time in the end. So time to me is so valuable. We will not get any of it back. And I promise to try and get as much real value into this interview session as possible in the shortest time for our viewers. It's truly a pleasure to speak to people who are already outstanding individuals, who are early enough in their careers and their lives that even a small change in direction, if pursued consistently, could result in them arriving at a vastly different destination.
So, Dr. Lockwood, as someone who has gone through the whole cycle of training and serving up to retirement, what advice do you have for those who are still early on this path?
Well, Zain, that's such an important question, which I honestly could talk about for hours. The most important advice I have is to dream really big and to pick a career goal that you would love to come true and that truly excites you, even if you've got no idea from where you are right now how you're going to get there. And then you need to relentlessly pursue the dream one step at a time, ignoring all the naysayers who tell you that you can't do it, you're not good enough, it's not for you, that's not going to happen. And even if the naysayer is sometimes your own inner voice, don't believe it. There's always a way.
Dr. Lockwood, that was very nice. Could you talk a little about the value of mentors?
Yes, so mentors weren't really a big thing when I was early in my career, but certainly it is known now that if you want to be successful, the best way to do it is to model someone who already has or already has done what you want to have or do. And that's the idea of mentorship. However, unfortunately, not everyone who has achieved success actually knows how they did it. So you can learn by watching them. You can actually learn as much from other people's painful failures as from their successes if you look carefully at how they happened, and you know how wonderful it is to be able to learn from other people's insights without having to make all the painful mistakes oneself. On the other hand, there are clearly those who have been repeatedly extraordinarily successful, and these people often have at some point in time worked out some of the secrets to what causes success. So if you have the opportunity to model one of these extraordinarily successful people, that has a lot more value. Interviews have been done with highly successful people and has revealed a few patterns in their behavior, and their attitude. So firstly, they are usually very future oriented, and they actually take the time out of the day to spend thinking about what they actually want and what the ideal result would be, what their ideal day would be. what they would really love to happen. And they are also generally very optimistic about their ability to achieve their desires. I have come to know the value of these practices over my career, largely because I'm by nature very stubborn and inclined to ignore people who tell me no. But nevertheless, there was a time when I didn't understand these truths, and I often wonder how much more I might have achieved if someone had made them clear to me much earlier in my career. You know, looking back, I see that when I follow the advice that I'm giving now, I always got what I was aiming for. And when I didn't, well, you know, things didn't go as well.
Okay. Can you give us some examples of the times you did something that others thought and said that it was not possible?
Oh, yes. Well, I could fill hours of time illustrating that from my experience. But to keep it short, from my high school telling me that it wasn't possible to get into Oxford or Cambridge without special preparation for an entrance exam that they were unable to provide. And then later that a successful career as an invasive cardiologist, let alone an electrophysiologist, wasn't possible for a female in the UK. And in the US, that you can't work as an attending or become board certified in the States if you haven't done your internal medicine training there. And all of these things, you know, are just part of my history now because I had a strong desire to do or have them, and they felt as though they should be possible. So I believed that I could do it, and I went ahead anyway with actions that I was able to take, despite those people around me saying it couldn't be done. And I suspect that each of our audience can think of a success in their life that they truly desired and that others said was not possible. And, you know, really, if you did, then examine how you made it happen against the odds. For me, success almost always came just because I was just plain stubborn and without understanding how things worked, I did let some things slide unnecessarily away from me.
That was wonderful, and I can relate to a lot of the words you said, and I'm sure others will find them very inspiring as well. Can you share some of the failures you had along your journey, and more importantly, what did you learn from those failures?
Yes, well, I did mess up quite largely my first large research proposal to the American Heart Association in around 2003. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and it was turned down on the basis of a peer reviewer who stated that everything is already known about AV nodal reentrant tachycardia. Well, I knew very clearly then, and as I know now, that that wasn't true. It's still not true today, but early on in my career, I allowed this expert's opinion to stop me, and the project that I had proposed has still not been completed. I really shouldn't have let that obstacle block my pathway to something that might have helped a lot of people. And if I could travel back in time and talk to my younger self, I would definitely have told her to appeal against that reviewer's comments, and at the very least, I would have applied somewhere else. So, you know, I think if you look around at times when you believed the people who said it couldn't be done, you know, you can find things that that you haven't done that you should have done. Because if you try something unconventional, you may fail, or you may succeed. But if you don't try, well, failure is guaranteed.
Yeah, Dr. Lockwood, I can relate a lot to this. Being an early career, you know, I spent countless hours in last grant application cycle applying for at least 5 different funding opportunities. And, you know, a few months ago, I was feeling very disheartened because I was rejected by all of them. And, you know, this application cycle, this was a real thought to me, like, is there any point in trying? And, you know, I tried and I succeeded. So I'm sure that this powerful message is for a lot of early careers that if you don't try, then the failure is guaranteed.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful example of it, Zain, and congratulations to you for gathering yourself together and actually applying again, but it is so easy to give up. I had a mentor recently who did put into words what I had begun to suspect, that obstacles are qualifiers, not stop signs, and they're there to test your resolve, not to tell you that this isn't the right direction. And I just wish I'd been as confident of that from the start as I am now. So, you know, in general, I think you can see the pervasive theme in my story is just do it anyway. Sometimes I had to wait for things to work out, but I don't remember a single time when the solution didn't present itself before it was too late. Now, perhaps I'm just lucky, but I don't really believe in luck. I think there is a power that we have access to as long as we use it the way it was designed to be used and go through the right steps, whether by accident or by design. And, you know, was only a couple of hundred years ago, electricity would have appeared to be magical, and things we do with electricity would have definitely been called magic. Whereas, you know, now we just know how to use it and it's accepted. And I think people are learning to use a power that's around us that allows us to achieve things just by understanding it a little bit more. There is one more thing that I would really like to stress, saying particularly to the younger people in the audience, and that is that I truly believe it is never necessary to compromise your principles. If something doesn't feel right, don't do it. There will always be another way, and any compromise will probably come back to haunt you. So an example from my life was that I was many times invited to participate in research that, you know, might have offered me the possibility of improving my career success or accelerating it, but that involved experimenting on animals. And that's just something I'm not comfortable with. I didn't even have to cut up a rat in biology class at school, and I actually managed to complete an entire successful career without having to do any kind of experimentation on animals. Now, I have to say, I'm not judging those who do work on animals. You know, I eat meat, so that would be hypocritical, but animal research just wasn't for me. And there will be things that are tempting for you that you know are just not for you, and you just do not have to give in to those. There's always a way to your dream. And you should stick to your principles, follow the voice of inspiration inside, and follow it without concern that you can't see the entire roadmap to the end goal at the start. So, you know, remember that when we drive a car in the dark, we can only see the distance as lit by our headlights, and yet we move forward confident that the next part of the path will become apparent as we get closer to it. And life seems to work very much that way as well.
No, that was beautiful. There is so much here that myself and other people like me can relate to. And it's wonderful that we are getting to hear these pearls of wisdom through your own story. And I'm sure we can learn a lot from these. So could you please summarize the advice you have for early careers like me?
Certainly. So advice would be dream big, pursue your dream relentlessly, disregard the naysayers and do it anyway, and know that there's always a way to your dream without the need to compromise personal values. I think, you know, you should know what you want and envisage having it already if possible. And if it's been done before, seek out those who have already achieved what you want to achieve and be prepared to learn from their failures as much as from their successes. If it hasn't been done before, then you can still do these things. You have to envisage it clearly. Frequently ask yourself what you can do next from where you are now to take you in the direction of your goal, and just keep doing the things that come to mind as answers to that question. So don't worry if all the future steps you'll need are not yet apparent. And remember that, you know, when Kennedy decided that we should go to the moon in the next decade, the necessary science wasn't available at all at the time, but they did it anyway. And I think, you know, another hero in my life has been Goethe, who said, you know, whatever you do or dream you can, begin it. boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And, you know, that is something that we can all aspire to follow that advice.
Oh, thank you so much for your inspiring words. And, you know, something we discussed in our earlier conversations, and is something that you said earlier is coming back to me, that most people spend more time planning their next vacation than planning their whole life. Okay. And with that, could you just let us know what is next for you in your career?
Well, I am now living my dream. I'm creating programs to inform patients with atrial fibrillation about their condition. And I'm building a company called Life Changer that's designed to help people step out of what is just normal and mediocre and become extraordinary. And I truly believe that human beings are capable of so much more than they generally know, than they realize. And based on the principle that what anyone can do, anyone can do. So I am currently writing a book about this called Extraordinary is Achievable, the Lockwood XX Curve. And my company, lifechanger.com, is now beta testing an app for increasing productivity that actually works really well with my personal life coaching to accelerate results. So it's all coming together for me, and I am just loving life so much.
Well, thank you so much for your advice, sharing your story, and I wish you the best in your new career path.
Well, thank you, Zain, for this opportunity, and I wish you the best, and all our viewers also.